it's going to be kind of awkward to come out and say, guys, we blew it. The paper was not published until this study ended in 1973, I believe. The paper was not published until 1989, 16 years later. Ansel Keys didn't sign the paper. He also didn't sign the final paper of his famed seven-country study. One of the concluding sentences of which was, it may be the oxidized lipids that are causing the problem here, because our hypothesis didn't pan out because they
Right.
saw it, right? He didn't sign that paper. He didn't sign this paper. Um, but by the time that was released in 1989, it was dogma,
Yeah.
right? Already part of the dietary
Right.
guidelines.
It's just such a good lesson in the human psychology of science and how, at the end of the day, right, science is not this,
Scientists aren't saints.
right, they aren't saints. They're human beings with career ambitions and all of the same biases that everybody else has.
Joseph Steinberg, who wrote that one of those two papers, or co-wrote one of those two papers that I sent to you, was at the time one of the most influential cardiologists in the country. And this pharmaceutical company, Merck, I'm sure everybody's heard of them, had this product that they were thinking of not selling into the marketplace. It was the first statin. And he convinced them to put it on the market. Now, if you're Joseph Steinberg and you've just demonstrated that the thing that's causing heart disease is a fundamental part of a fundamental part of the American diet at that point, and B, something that your profession has been promoting since the 1960s, right? It's going to be kind of awkward to come out and say, guys, we blew it. But there's a pretty good argument that just lowering the levels of LDL will prevent that oxidation from happening, right? So if you can lower the LDL, it's not an unreasonable thing, again,
Yeah.
to
That you're also going to
say
lower oxidized LDL.
it would, and additionally, statins, for reasons I've never seen explained coherently, tend to have an antioxidant effect,
Hmm.
right? Statin
Well,
myself. An
yeah.
interesting fact that I tried to look up for this and couldn't find the paper is that most heart attacks occur after a meal. And it would make sense that if you go out and, eat a big container of French fries, you're going to get a big delivery of oxidized fats directly into your circulatory system.
Right. So everything that we've talked about depends on diet, the composition of your diet, the level of seed oils you're eating, basically, the composition of polyunsaturated fatty acids in the
Yep.
LDL particles is going to be sensitive to dietary fat content.
And then the funny thing is, your cardiologist won't tell you not to eat seed oils, but he will tell you that you shouldn't eat fried foods.
I've had this discussion with people before too, because everybody, right, literally everybody in my life has always said, well, fried foods are terrible.
They're made from polyunsaturated vegetable oils. And of course, for the audience, the answer is they get oxidized.
The American Heart Association would say omega-6 polyunsaturated fats are good. They're heart healthy. They would also say omega-3s are good. But they would
Right.
also say, I mean, as you just said, they would also say, well, don't have fried foods because fried foods are bad.
Right. Well, that's the problem with the model is once you start rigorously trying to understand it, it's got holes and contradictions and inconsistencies in it that make, you know, the whole story fall apart,
Mhm.
right? It's not a genetic disease. It's not controlled by ApoB levels. It's not controlled by LDL levels. It's not even controlled by cholesterol levels. Oxidized cholesterol is not neutral. Oxidized cholesterol is also found in atherosclerotic plaques, as are oxidized fats. Well, the leading hypothesis is since linoleic acid is 15 times as likely to become oxidized as cholesterol is, and they are bound together, the primary cholesterol ester in the blood is linoleic acid and cholesterol, that the linoleic acid is getting oxidized and is then oxidizing the cholesterol.
So if oxidized LDL is bad, one would want to lower your oxidized LDL. There's two levers here we can think about. One would be lowering the amount of oxidizable stuff, and that would be our dietary modification here. Omega-6 PUFAs in that LDL because that's the thing that can be oxidized. The other level would be the oxidation environment itself. We can't not breathe oxygen, but is there any way? What are all the ways you would lower your oxidized LDL in theory?
One of the things that will cause LDL to oxidize is smoking. Don't smoke.
Smoking basically creates a more oxidizing environment.
Pollution will cause LDL to oxidize. Don't live in a polluted area. Don't live in a polluted area. Leaded gasoline pumps lead into the environment, right? I mean, we don't do that anymore, but that's another way to create massive oxidative stress on your body via oxidized LDL. I will point out that eating omega-3 fats will cause omega-3 fats to replace omega-6 fats in the membranes. I will point out that eating omega-3 fats will cause omega-3 fats to replace omega-6 fats in the membranes. Everybody should pursue. Primarily long-chain omega-6 fats.
We often think of the omega-6s and the omega-3s
as long-chain omega-3 fats. Sorry, I misspoke.
We often think about omega-3s and omega-6s as separate, but what you're getting at here is they interact in a way. Like changing just your omega-3 intake or just your omega-6 intake will actually also affect the levels of the other one in your cells.
But the way it works is the first intervention you need to do is lower omega-6.
Right.
That alone can increase omega-3 levels.
And because because of the environment we're in, the majority of people have an overwhelming amount of omega-6 compared to omega-3.
Cardiovascular disease is not genetic, primarily. Right? Cardiovascular disease has had a massive increase over the 20th century across different countries, depending on how their diets changed and when. And the primary component of the industrial diet that's been shown, which is the diet that's been shown to increase heart disease, the primary component that has been shown to be involved in that increase in heart disease is the linoleic acid from seed oils. And it would behoove you, I think, to alter your diet accordingly.
Because, in the standard model of things, we think, literally people call LDL bad cholesterol and HDL good cholesterol. It sounds like your view would be, well, no, LDL is not bad cholesterol, period. Oxidized LDL is bad cholesterol.
And the role of HDL is, by the way, to protect us from oxidized LDL. Right. It is effective to the extent that it is able to remove oxidized lipids. And if it loses that ability, then it loses its protective effect on the body.